What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and Charles Soule recently released Chapter 1 of his new book, Light of the Jedi, which is the first book to kick off Star Wars The High Republic, Lucasfilm's new publishing initiative that is already surrounded by controversy and delays. So basically just like everything else associated with Disney Star Wars. We are going to get into that, and as well, we're going to look at how before even releasing these books, just with a description from Charles Soule about what the whole High Republic is going to be about, they have already shown they have no regard for even canon and lore that they themselves at Disney have established because they're already breaking it. Let's take a look at what we have. Star Wars, The Light of the Jedi. Read the first chapter by Charles Soule. Prepare to take your first step into a new era of Star Wars. Set 200 years before the events of the Skywalker saga, the High Republic finds the Jedi at their peak as they watch over the galaxy during a time of peace. But it's not long before that peace is disturbed by a devastating incident and the Knights of the Jedi must spring into action. Now, we already know the controversy that surrounded the High Republic when it launched, when they gave us that trailer, showed us that whiteboard of all the things that they really wanted for Star Wars, what Star Wars means to them, and what they then wanted to put into Star Wars, including the whiteboard that said diversity and representation, not once, but twice. We've talked about that. Now we're just waiting to see what they actually put on page and what the story is going to be all about. One thing that I do think should be noted, the entire premise, we've been revealed that the entire premise of the High Republic is that it's during a time where they are exploring hyperspace lanes, trying to explore more of the known galaxy. And it's already a problem because this is only set 200 years before the prequels. So you are now saying that you're basically shortening the galactic time span in a big way. For anyone that tries to tell me that KOTOR and the Old Republic could still possibly fit in Disney canon, you're living in a fantasy land, because those take place nearly 4,000 years before the movies do, and they don't have any problem with hyperspace lanes or exploring the Outer Rim. The entire premise of the High Republic, and we will get to it, is that there are some people that are out there that are mapping hyperspace lanes, that are trying to connect things closer together. That doesn't happen 200 years before these movies you established. It's just, once again, taking the world that is Star Wars, the universe that is Star Wars, and shrinking it down. That's all that Disney has continued to do over and over again. And right here, as the preview for The Light of the Jedi reveals, last chance to skip ahead and avoid spoilers. So yeah, spoiler warning if you want to make sure you experience it in full. Spoiler warning. It's the seemingly accidental destruction of a large spaceship traveling through hyperspace that causes all of the calamity. In The Last Jedi, the Holdo maneuver showed us just how dangerous a ship moving at hyperspace speeds could be, but the way Charles Soule describes what happens in his story makes it sound considerably worse. Now remember that. The Holdo maneuver in The Last Jedi is a very important thing to remember, because were there any ramifications from that? No, of course there weren't. All that happened was they broke all the rules of hyperspace that we'd ever heard of in Star Wars before that, and they did the Holdo maneuver because it looked cool. Thank you, Rian Johnson. Thank you, Disney. Thank you, Lucasfilm. But listen to what Charles Soule says here. This excerpt is our first look at the moment that changes the High Republic forever. The destruction of the Legacy Run, a spaceship, is a catalyst for a galaxy-wide disaster. So this is a ship that is traveling at hyperspace in a well-known hyperspace route. And they're about to hit something, they have to adjust course, and in the process, the ship gets entirely destroyed. I'm not going to read the chapter for you, you can do that if you want. But that's what happens, it gets destroyed. But the fallout from that destruction is the impetus for the High Republic. The destruction of the Legacy Run is the catalyst for the galaxy-wide disaster. Fragments of the destroyed cargo vessel begin flying out of hyperspace at super accelerated speeds, meaning that deadly missiles of debris can appear anywhere at any time, from the Outer Rim to the core. In this moment of crisis, the Republic turns to the guardians of peace and justice, the Jedi. The idea that a ship getting destroyed in hyperspace would basically send ripple effects throughout the entire galaxy is nonsensical, because we literally saw you use a ship going at hyperspace speeds to destroy an entire fleet of ships. That ship did get destroyed, obviously. Holdo sacrificed herself. Did that cause the entire galaxy to get thrown into chaos because now no one could use hyperspace? No, that was literally never mentioned. There's been no mention of that in any tie-in novels, any comics, anything. You're just making stuff up as you go. That is one of the huge problems so much of us have had. This stuff here, the Star Wars expanded universe, now referred to as Legends, all of this makes sense. All of this builds upon itself. But when it comes to Disney Star Wars and what they've decided to replace the expanded universe with, it's nonsensical. It makes no sense for this to be the thing. And also, that would mean if any ship ever got destroyed in hyperspace, whether it was just a simple fuel malfunction, a fuel line broke, and the ship exploded, these things happen, that if they were going at hyperspace, again, it would throw the galaxy into turmoil. And that's just not the case. Han Solo even says in A New Hope that, hyperspace isn't easy. You can't just go, have to do calculations, all these things. Everyone knows that hyperspace is dangerous because people die doing it. For this to be the focus of your event makes zero sense when you think about Star Wars. But let's continue on. Soule continues, the opening beats of Light of the Jedi depict an epic disaster and a heroic, thrilling response by both the Republic and the Jedi to save lives and end the crisis. It's just the beginning, though. The Legacy Run disaster kicks off a much larger story. It really is just one piece of a much bigger saga. And this is that whole excerpt. Like I said, I'm not going to read the entire thing. I do think there's an important part because it shows literally in the first couple paragraphs that they did do all those things that they wanted to do on the whiteboard. Just listen to this. It is a time of the High Republic, the peaceful union of like-minded worlds where all voices are heard and governance is achieved through consensus, not coercion or fear. It is a time of ambition, of culture, of inclusion, of great works. They've already put there, all voices are heard. We're an inclusive society. That's why it's the High Republic. That's why it's the best that the Republic has ever been, right? Because of inclusion, because they listen to all voices. So it's pretty laughable to me to have us see what we see, diversity, representation, inclusion type of talk on the whiteboard, and literally in the first paragraph of the High Republic, the book that kicks off the High Republic, we have those sentiments echoed. So it looks like they did use that whiteboard in crafting the story. And it's going to be interesting to see as we go. We already know some of the characters that will be a part of it, like Avar Kriss, who's, Jedi Master Karen, it seems, who is just the perfect and the best at everything. Even though, remember, 200 years before the prequels, Yoda does exist. Yoda is a Jedi, but Avar Kriss is the best of the best. She's very powerful, the bestest ever. You have Loden Greatstorm, which seems like the wise old master type of character. You have Keeve Trennis, who, despite her haircut, I think is actually maybe going to be the most interesting character in this entire thing, who is someone who does have potential but is very uncertain about herself and trying to find her way. You have this dude here who looks cool, but he's only good when he's paired with Avar. Together, they're an unstoppable team. Him by himself, not so much. He only matters when he's paired with the great Avar Kriss. And then lastly, of course, we have a very young prodigy who has done everything before anyone else ever has in her generation, right? That kind of story with Vern. It'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. But to me, the idea that you're basing this entire thing off this great disaster, that's what this is called, the great disaster, when a ship gets destroyed while they're in hyperspace and it literally affects the rest of the galaxy. You have debris flying out of hyperspace at different locations, and that is enough to have a galactic-wide disaster. I don't believe it. I don't believe that it makes sense. I know that ships have been destroyed in hyperspace before. There's no way that didn't happen. And we even saw it during The Last Jedi. You showed us what happens when a ship gets destroyed going in hyperspace, and no one was worried that there was going to be a second great disaster. No one talked about it in the aftermath. Nothing happened. You're going to have to do a lot to explain to me how this makes any sense. But I guess even though it was delayed several months. I guess we'll see in January what everyone's reaction to this story will be. What do you think about it? Is this believable? Does it make sense? Do you think they're just going to use some tie-in books to explain it? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.